So advertising car finance on Facebook is pretty easy, right? I just set up a campaign in my ad set, I target car finance, put an ad in, bish bash bosh, I am gone in 60 seconds.
Your ship set sail.
But you may have noticed this video is a little bit longer than 60 seconds, so there's probably a little bit more to it. I want to talk about whether you can... I might have to read this bit. I'm not used to doing bullet points. Find that people that match the rate you're offering, how much data you can capture on your inquiry, what you can do to increase your contact rate, what to do to increase the amount of sales that you get, how we halved our Facebook ads cost per click, and how to slash your cost per lead if you've got an existing customer base. I'm going to put that down.
Okay, let's ride.
So finding people that match the rate that you're offering is actually quite difficult. So it's really helpful if you've got a panel of lenders. We actually worked with a car finance company and they only had one fixed rate. It was a subprime brand and we generated lots of leads and we did really well. However, it would have been much more successful if we had a panel of lenders to send all the other leads to. Most consumers don't actually know whether they are bad credit or if they've got good credit, and they may think they've got bad credit, they're actually quite good, or vice versa. So it is really hard for you to target people by an exact rate. So please do bear it in mind. Facebook does have a bad credit targeting option, and you can either include or exclude people. So you can match bad credit and must also include car finance, or exclude, but it is not completely foolproof. It doesn't work all the time, but it is worth trying if you are going at one end of the scale or not. The messaging that you use can filter out people, whether they've got good credit or bad credit. By changing the messaging in your ad doesn't mean it's not going to get in front of the wrong or right people. But if in your ad you say something like, we've got great rates if you have a monthly income of at least £1,000. So anyone that doesn't fit that description may not apply. You've still paid to get in front of them, so your cost per lead will increase, but the quality you get out could be a lot better.
Suspect has increased speed to 120. God! Man, this guy can drive. What? It's probably mostly the car.
So one thing that's different about car finance that is not the same as things like mortgages, wealth management, or life insurance, or anything like that, is that people are actually quite willing to fill out lengthy forms. They really want that car, and whether it's because they want it or they really need it, they're normally quite happy to fill out a full application, even on the first click. What we normally do is have a staged form, so a form in 4 kind of parts, and we'll ask little chunks at a time. We also find that people are happy to give their contact details on that first stage as well. So getting people to fill out a form is not normally a problem with car finance. You could also use a chat bot as well, but you can test asking everything you need to eliminate those that are good and bad. And what we do actually find is if someone fills out the full application, they're normally a lot more bought in, and it's more likely they are going to be a good lead.
You're gonna have to go old school. A data shop, a data prep.
So anything you can do to match someone, their finance, with a car, whether that be pre or post conversion, whether you've captured the lead before or after, will mean you've got a better chance of capturing that sale. So what we did, we worked for a car finance business for quite some time, and we had an API feed of vehicles that we brought into the site, and then with those vehicles we could let people know what the monthly costs are from. What we find actually that people can understand what their monthly spend is going to be more so than what the rate is. That seems more important to people. So rather than saying this car at 8% or 29% or whatever it is, this car is from £200 a month or from £250 a month. We've got a lot more inquiries, a lot more sales once we did that. So matching them with a car and letting them know the monthly costs, so much focusing on the rate. That's what people can understand, relate to, and make sense for people. So I highly recommend you have a really robust follow-up procedure, because unlike maybe like a mortgage where someone needs to get their home pretty quickly, sometimes with car finance it may not be as urgent or as important as buying a home, for example. So although they've submitted an application, it could be that they've got a few weeks that they can get this car, could be their first car, may not be as urgent as you want it to be. So make sure you've got an automated email follow-up sequence. We use Active Campaign, for example. A lot of people use MailChimp. There are loads of others. What we do in those follow-up emails is we don't try and sell too hard. In fact, we call it an anti-sales method. In fact, we're following up with more value-added information rather than saying, oh, we tried to call you, or we've been trying to get hold of you. That comes across as a little bit desperate. We have a email sequence that gives them more information, helps them make a better decision about their car finance. And we actually find we get more follow-up calls, follow-up emails from the customers wanting to engage with us because we have been less salesy. I mean, even Nicolas Cage agrees on this one.
I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the cars.
Okay, so I want to tell you how we have halved our cost per click on Facebook ads doing a number of different things. So when you're advertising your business on Facebook, you're actually advertising as your Facebook page. Now, we worked with a company who didn't have the words car finance in their brand. And what we found is when we introduced the words car finance at the start of their name of their Facebook page, we got more clicks, and that halved our cost per click and again, our cost per lead. So if you have got a name of your business that doesn't include the words car finance, make it really clear, because the Facebook name, when the ad comes down, is the first thing that people read. So if it says car finance by ... you will have more people stopping in their feed because it's really easy to actually target people who are interested in car finance. It's getting them to stop in the feed that's actually going to reduce your cost per click. So the other thing that has helped massively is a bit of a weird one, and often when you're looking for images, you might be using stock images. It's actually when people are looking directly at the camera, that actually helps people stop in their feed. So I had a psychologist on my podcast and we talked about this, and she said basically if you see some eyes looking back at you, it will make you stop in your tracks. So on Facebook, people are bored and they're kind of skipping through, and if they see a set of eyes literally looking back at them, they will stop. So if you combine that with the words car finance at the top, someone maybe with some keys or a car looking straight back at you, that is going to stop your customers in their tracks and then actually read your advert. Okay, we've actually found emojis to help make our ads stand out. So not putting them everywhere and looking unprofessional, but little things like if there are bullet points where you're highlighting what the rates are and how quickly you can get things turned around. If you're bullet pointing something, there's car emojis, there's ticks, there's smiley faces, and think like often we'll start an ad saying, did you know ... and we'll have the thinking emoji like that. Also in the headline of your ad, you can, and the title, you can put a tick there. It makes your ad stand out because not a lot of people use emojis on Facebook. Okay, and the last thing, and this pretty much halved our cost per click, increased our click-through rate by more than half, was when we put the link to the landing page or the website in the description. So Facebook kindly offers you a place to put your link in and creates a button for you, and you get to choose what it says on the button, but actually you can put the link in the text description. We get more people clicking on that link than we do on the buttons. It turns out not a lot of people know that the button is for clicking on, which is a bit random. But if you put that link in the description, you will find an increase of click-through rate, which reduces your cost per click, which then you get more people through, more people inquiring, that it can slash your cost per lead. The link in description technique is literally like the Eleanor of Facebook ad hacks.
Who's Eleanor?
It's a damn car. And don't ever talk about my wife.
Yeah, I didn't mention your wife. Okay, and the last bit of advice is if you've got an existing customer base, you can import your database into Facebook. Sounds a bit dodgy, but it isn't. It's completely compliant. So check with your compliance teams first, but essentially you can do a customer lookalike. So you import a CSV spreadsheet file of just email address and phone numbers. It gets encrypted as it goes in and encrypted on the other side, so you don't get to see people's profiles and Facebook doesn't essentially get to see the data. You're not sharing data either way. So it's completely compliant. You upload the database and Facebook will match those with profiles, and you can create a lookalike audience. So this basically is people who are similar to your existing customers. So if we go back to point 1 of finding people that match the credit profile that you're advertising for, this is probably the best way. So you're Facebook is finding people who are similar to your existing customers, and then you can advertise to those. We had a client where they had 10,000 existing customers. We imported that and we absolutely slashed our cost per lead. And the rate at which they went into sale was slightly better than what we were doing with Google Ads. So it was still really good quality. That may not work for everyone, that is not a promise, but if you want to get a lower cost per lead, a lower cost per sale, you've got an existing customer base, try importing those. I mean, we had 10,000, the more the better. You need at least 100 to be able to do this, but that's probably too small. So I would say if you've got 1,000 plus, then this is a really good technique. If I have missed anything, if you've got any other questions about advertising car finance on Facebook, please put it in the comments and let me know if there's anything else you want to know. Things change all the time. So by the time this is published, there's probably something new that we found out. So please do ask. We've also got a Facebook group called Lead Generation for Financial Services and the podcast of the same name as well. So that was a lot of info, and this is pretty much how I feel right now.
All right, I'm a little tired, a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation.